It happened on a cold Wednesday evening, the kind that feels like the world is holding its breath before a holiday. My mother texted me at 8:42 p.m. The screen lit up my dim living room, glowing like a warning flare. "You're banned from Thanksgiving until you apologize to your cousin. No discussion. No greeting. No explanation. Just the sentence. Sharp, cold, final." I stared at it for a full minute, almost expecting another message to follow. Something softer, something motherly. Nothing came. The truth settled in my stomach like a stone. They didn't want me there. They didn't even care if I understood why. I set my phone down, leaned back on my couch, and for the first time in my life, I didn't cry. I didn't call. I didn't beg. Instead, I opened my banking app. Line by line, I began shutting down the invisible web of financial strings I'd been holding together for my family for years. The mortgage? Autopay canceled. Home electricity? Transferred out of my name. Family phone plan? Removed. Every device disconnected. Their internet? Off by midnight. My father's medical prescriptions? Payment authorization removed. As each bill disappeared from my financial dashboard, I should have felt guilt. But all I felt was quiet, because you can only hold everyone together for so long before the weight suffocates you. People talk about family like it's a soft place to land. Mine was more like a job, one I never applied for and could never quit. From the outside, our home looked like a postcard. White shutters, a porch swing, a perfectly trimmed yard. Inside, though, everything was frayed behind the seams. My cousin Rylan, my mother's pride and joy, was raised like royalty. I, Nia, was raised like the dependable village worker who existed to keep the kingdom running. When I was 12, Mom handed me a stack of overdue bills and said, "You're so good with numbers, sweetheart. Help me keep track." Rylan got praise for getting an A on a science test. I got praised for renegotiating the cable bill. He got gifts. I got responsibilities. And yet, I kept hoping one day they'd see me. Not the helper, not the problem solver. Me. Years passed. Nothing changed. My mom still called me the responsible one, which was her polite way of saying, the one who will sacrifice for everyone else. Dad stayed silent behind her, always looking at her before he spoke, as if his words needed permission. My Aunt Vanessa floated around with her sugar-sweet smiles, pretending to care while ignoring everything real. And Rylan? Always high on attention, high on ego, high on the belief that the world, and I, owed him something. I thought Thanksgiving might be different. Every year I made it magical. I cooked, I decorated, I paid for half the groceries. Sometimes all of them. Last year Mom murmured, "You make it feel like home, Nia." I held that sentence like a gift. But this year my name wasn't even mentioned in the group chat. When I asked what time I should arrive, the typing bubbles appeared, then vanished. The reply came from Rylan. "Limited seating this year. Maybe Christmas if you apologize." No defense from Mom, no comment from Dad, just silence. I didn't ask what I needed to apologize for, because I already knew. 2 weeks earlier at Rylan's promotion dinner, I'd made one comment, one that struck a nerve. Maybe when you finally pay back what you've borrowed, you can celebrate with your own money. Everyone laughed except him. He called me disrespectful. Mom called me dramatic. Dad told me not to ruin the evening. And now, here we were, banned, excluded, erased. When Mom's text came the next morning, it only confirmed what they had already decided. They didn't need me at Thanksgiving. They needed my wallet. So I closed it, quietly, coldly, completely. And that is where the real story begins. On Thanksgiving morning, my phone stayed silent, and so did I. I walked to my kitchen, made myself tea, and let the house fill with the warm smell of cinnamon. It was the first Thanksgiving in years where I wasn't racing to prep food, pay bills, or clean. Around noon, I drove past their house. Not to spy, just to see. The blinds were half open. I saw plates gleaming under the chandelier, people laughing, a picture-perfect holiday. And then I noticed something on the porch, a foil-covered plate, a peace offering, but not for a loved one, for a discarded one, a stray. A message followed, "We saved you food. Pick it up whenever." I didn't touch it. The neighborhood cat did, and somehow, that felt right. The next morning, I walked to a bakery. Fresh bread, warm lights, the smell of buttered pastries, and then, of course, Aunt Vanessa appeared. "Nia, honey, heard about Thanksgiving," she said loudly, as if performing for an invisible crowd. "Don't take things so personally. You've always been sensitive." Sensitive. The one word they always used to dismiss my pain. Then she looked at the cashier and added, "She's just touchy about success. Comes with being the single one." I left without my bagel. Sat in my car. Hands shaking. Minutes later, Rylan called. "Hey, think you can spot me $450? I'll pay you Friday." "Family takes care of each other," he said. I stared at the screen. Family takes care of each other. Except mine didn't. I did. For all of them. Saturday morning, I printed every bill I'd paid for them over the last 3 years. Every mortgage payment, every utility bill. Every prescription, every temporary loan. Pages and pages, a binder full of truths they would never admit. I wasn't doing this to hurt them. I was doing this to free myself. That afternoon, I met with my mentor, Leela, a woman who always saw right through me. After reading the binder, she said, "You're not their daughter, Nia. You're their safety net. It's time to let them fall." That night, I finished removing myself from everything. By Sunday morning, all their bills were officially their bills. And they had no idea. Monday came with chaos. Mortgage payment failed, electric bill overdue, Wi-Fi disconnected, phones shut down. When Mom finally managed to call me from a borrowed phone, she sounded small. "Nia, what happened? The house payment bounced." I answered calmly, "I'll come by and I'll bring the binder." The silence on her end was colder than winter. Their kitchen smelled like stale coffee and panic. Mom sat at the table, fingers interlaced tightly. Dad looked exhausted. Rylan stood behind them, chest puffed like a scared rooster. I placed the binder on the table. Mom's voice trembled. "What is this?" "The truth," I said. Page after page, I laid it all out. Money they owed, bills I paid, loans never returned, responsibilities dumped on me like trash. Rylan scoffed. "You kept track of all that? Seriously?" "You're welcome," I said. Dad whispered, "We didn't know, Nia." "That's the problem," I replied. "You didn't want to know." Mom slammed her palm on the table. "You can't just stop paying. What kind of daughter does that?" "The kind who finally chooses herself." Rylan stepped forward, furious. "You're ruining us." I shrugged. "I'm not ruining you. I'm just no longer saving you." Mom's eyes filled, not with guilt, but with humiliation. "You're making us look bad." "No," I said softly. "You did that the day you banned me from Thanksgiving. The room froze. For once, not even Ryland had something to say. I picked up the binder. I hope you figure things out, but I'm done being your foundation. Dad whispered, "What about Christmas?" I opened the door. "I'll see how I feel." And I left. For the first time in my adult life, I went home without guilt. No bills hanging over my head, no fear of disappointing someone, no pressure to fix everything. Just peace. A few days later, Dad called. Just Dad, not Mom. His voice cracked. "Nia, we set up our own autopay, and I'm sorry. I should have spoken up years ago." His apology wasn't perfect, but it was real. Mom reached out later, too. Her texts were small, unsure. "Made soup tonight if you want some. No expectations." I answered eventually. Rylan never called. Not once. And for the first time, I didn't chase his silence. A week later, I sat on my sofa, wrapped in a blanket, the world quiet around me. I picked up my phone and typed a message into the family group chat. "I'm glad you all had a nice Thanksgiving. Next year, let's try something new. Respect." Then I muted the chat. As the sun sat outside my window, I realized something. Sometimes losing a family doesn't break you. Sometimes it sets you free. And this Thanksgiving, for the first time in my life, I felt thankful for myself.